Hello. I'm going to give you all some time to start coming on, but here we are again. It is my Fertility Hot Seat. That's what we are here for. Fertility Hot Seat. If you want in, you got a request to join. And I'm going to quickly go over what is the Fertility Hot Seat. So you guys love it. I love it. Happens every other Monday at this time. And I bring one of you have to request to join me live, and I will choose one of you to come on live with me, and I will give you a free 15-minute consult based on my 20 years of clinical experience, based on all the information in these best-selling books that are sitting above me. My latest book, The Egg Quality Diet, came out about a month ago and is still rocking it, and it is there to help support all of you to optimize your health, your fertility, improve your egg quality. Works well in conjunction with my other books. So some people, I see requests coming in. So what you have to do is you have to request to join me live. Then at random, I'm going to pick one of you. Then we're going to do 15 minutes of a consult. You're going to tell me what's going on. I'm going to give you my advice. Keep in mind that this is advice based on my 20 years of clinical experience. I am not a medical doctor. I am an acupuncturist, herbalist. I was a research scientist before I became an acupuncturist. I am a total nerd. I've been helping women get and stay pregnant for 17 years, almost 20 years. I know a thing or two about a lot of fertility stuff, and so I know I can help support you, but just keep in mind that this is coming from my clinical experience, from my book writing experience, from my fertility coaching experience, and that I am not a medical doctor. So anything I tell you to do, you should clear with a practitioner that's on your healthcare team, just like in any of my books, right? Same thing. So let's see. We got some people coming on in. Cha. Who am I going to pick? I'm just going to kind of like random and then, okay. Looks like Fiona, you have been selected. So you're going to come live with me. Let's see. I've given her the invite. Let's see how it goes.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you. It's just great to be picked. I wasn't expecting to be picked, so there we go. That's fantastic.
I closed my eyes and just kind of, and my finger fell on your name. So there you go. You are selected. But just so we're clear, right? You know, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm going to give you advice based on all my clinical experience and my books and stuff. Okay. So tell me what's going on. How can I help?
So my situation is that I'm 48.
Okay.
And I had a 17 years ago who is now a fine, bolshy young man. And he was an unplanned pregnancy. I then later on got into a stable relationship, and my husband desperately wants a baby.
Okay.
And I would like a baby too. So we've been trying for 3 years.
Okay.
And someone told me about your book. I'm getting a lot of very negative feedback from doctors about my age. And so I suppose my big question was about my age, because obviously I know your book, I've got your Yes, You Can Get Pregnant book. And I know that that's particularly aimed at slightly younger women, like in their late 30s, early 40s. So I wanted to know, what your take was on older pregnancy. When you hear stories of getting pregnant, and everyone knows someone, and oh yeah, my friend got pregnant at 50,
Yeah.
and I just, does it happen without IVF?
I have seen it happen. I have my currently oldest patient, if you will, is 48 using her own eggs. And so she did do IVF only because she's not in a relationship, right? So, but at 48, after following, she's kind of on my egg quality diet, is basically the diet that she's been following, did create genetically normal embryos, and we haven't yet transferred them, but that is at this point what I have on my record as the oldest, if you will. I have one woman in her 50s that I've worked with. She's 50 and she did get pregnant recently. Unfortunately, it ended in an early miscarriage. But I mean, I agree with you. Like, I've heard the stories. I think it can happen. But tell me a little bit about the history. Like, have you fallen pregnant at all in the last 3 years?
Yes, I've had one definite miscarriage, and a couple of times,
Oh, I just
um,
lost you.
and then I
A
had
couple
a
of times you felt pregnant and then got a
period.
period. Like,
Yeah, um, and my periods are very irregular, but I do have eggs. The support that I'm getting from the doctors is really bad over here. We just have a very healthcare system issue. I'm in the UK, and yeah, it's a bit of a disaster. But they have said you do have eggs left, but not many. So I I'm not convinced that I'm ovulating every. I feel like my body is keeping those last eggs for a special occasion.
and so how often do you think you ovulate? Do you get a period? How often do you get a period?
It varies. It can be every 3 months or it can be every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, but
Okay.
it can be really, really varied. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, and when did that start getting irregular for you?
That's been going irregular probably for the last year or two, I would say.
Okay. Um, because that's where I would draw my focus is that to try to work on regulating and then healthy, juicy ovulations. You know what I mean? That's what I would focus on in your approach of like we're not robots. We don't need to have an exact regular cycle every single month. As we do get older, I think they can jump around like that. But we want to give you the best chance. And so we want to optimize that ovulation window and try to optimize and regulate those cycles. So that's, I would try to approach it like that. We know vitamin D impacts AMH, so make sure you're getting healthy levels of vitamin D. I would basically follow, the protocol that I have in the egg quality diet. Like, because I always say the older we get, kind of I think the more strict we need to be with ourselves because the easier the pipes get clogged, if you will.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'd also focus on sperm health. Like, how's the health of your husband?
It's really good. My husband is younger than me. He's super healthy. But actually, that was one of my questions was he's in a really stressful job.
Okay.
And he will regularly work until 3 o'clock in the morning. And he is convinced that that has no difference. So I would love to know your take on that.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it can definitely impact things like whether the female sleep cycle is off or the male sleep cycle because it impacts our cortisol levels, our melatonin, which can all have an impact on overall
Yeah.
sperm health. So um, stress levels definitely impact things. Have you had sperm analysis done or no?
Yes,
Yes. Okay. And
we did.
everything looked fine?
Everything looked fine. Yeah, we did manage to do that, and that was all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you be open to, or can you even in the UK, will they do an IVF with you at your age? They probably won't, right? Isn't 46 or 47 the cutoff?
I I don't know. I'm not open to IVF. I'm Catholic, so
Yeah, okay.
it's
A
yeah,
little too, I get it, a little too plain
yeah.
God. I totally see
I'm
that.
not against like having injections or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
or an
but
IUI, right?
yeah, no one
Because
will like help
no
me
one
with
will do
that.
it.
It's IVF or nothing. There's no natural fertility support at all, which is a shame.
Yeah. I had a girl that came over from France just this week. She's in the US now. She's going to be 47. But the same thing, they won't touch her. And she's seeing a doctor here, Dr. Murphy, who I do a lot of work with, and he does the ovarian PRP, which you can find. They also do it in Greece. And it's platelet rich plasma. They take your platelets and centrifuge it and then inject it into your ovaries, and it gives the ovaries like more life. I've had it done. It's very like non-invasive, kind of
Yeah.
simple. It's like over in 8 minutes type of thing. But Dr. Murphy, I think, who he's a reproductive endocrinologist, but from what I've gathered from it, it kind of jumpstarts the ovaries. And what he says is like, even as we hit menopause, we still have about 1,000 eggs left, like that kind of start to go dormant, and the PRP can help kind of wake them back up. And he's
Yeah.
had a lot of success with women your age with doing PRP and then natural conception or even IUIs. And so that's something like to me, I would just think about it like, okay, if we're going to put like all of it on the table, that's something to maybe consider.
Yeah.
It's called ovarian PRP. You could research and see, because I do know for sure it happens in Greece, but it might just be just as easy to come to the States too, and and pay out of pocket for it too. It's probably about $1,000 procedure. It's not super expensive,
Yeah.
1,000 US. But I would do that. I would like focus on the diet. I would try to get him to manage the stress as best he can. I mean, if sperm looks good, that's great. The supplements, like I would put yourself on DHEA for sure. You can get it tested if it usually starts to decline. DHEA is like juice for our ovaries, right? And we don't take, I know there's a lot of, in the book, it starts with the egg. I think they recommend like 75 milligrams. I think that's a really high, and it can be, it can backfire, but even like 20 milligrams, 10 or 20 milligrams a day can actually be very encouraging to the ovaries to do what it needs to do. The diet, like I have laid out, I would go like heavy on the antioxidants, like glutathione, like mitochondrial support. I like the NAD plus supplements, the Elysium Health, at least in the States, but NAD with the plus sign. That's like the food for mitochondria. And then I would think about too, like, are you doing any acupuncture or herbs? Because that's where I would come at it with that stuff too. If you can find a good acupuncturist, and someone with Chinese herbs, that can then help, because we want to regulate the cycle a little bit. Like, it's okay to have some erraticness and probably to be expected, but I don't want you losing opportunity too of trying. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the more erratic the cycle gets, it's like a polycystic ovarian girl. Like, we're only going to get 5 attempts out of a year. You know what I mean? So same thing with you.
Yeah.
Of like, if we can get good attempts in there, and just think about it as like, fertility is an extension of health. So if you just do your best to get yourself, or continue to be in this state of feeling really healthy and vital, then I think cellularly, physiologically, you could be younger than your chronology. And so to focus less on that number 48. And of course, that's what the doctors are going to do. And it's, I don't think they're trying to be jerks. It's just, you know what I mean? They don't necessarily always see success, but it is doable, and it can definitely happen. I mean, I know multiple practitioners across my board that we all have 48-year-olds that have done it. So
Yeah.
you're not out of the game, you know what I mean? But I do think too, to think of it as like, okay, but like game face on, like I'm going to give this my best shot possible. What are the things I can do,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I loved your book. My osteopath actually put me onto it, and I just loved it. And I'm so inspired, just that whole thing of you are fertile, as women, I think we are fertile. We have a vocation to fertility of all different descriptions. So that was really inspiring. And I've started cutting out gluten.
Good.
I think I might be celiac. I've been in denial about this for about 2-3 years.
We all are, because it sucks to cut it out, but the truth is you will feel like, but I would, like, even if you weren't celiac, like, to up your game, like where you're at, I would definitely cut out gluten and dairy and soy. And I would do the things I say to do, like even the egg quality diet, my book that just came out, like follow that plan, do it. And why not? Do you know what I mean? Like, I want you to be able to look back and feel like I did everything I possibly could. Do you know what I mean? And you're giving yourself your best chance possible. Inflammation is what fucks us up as we get older, right? It's like what our body can't process out at some point. And so that's when we start to see aging, right? And oxidation. And that's when the cells they're not going to properly divide. We're not going to make healthy babies if we get pregnant. So what you really want to think about is like, what can I do to give my body everything it needs and reduce inflammation? And that's what will create healthier cells, which ultimately can then create healthier babies.
Yeah. So I did do an elimination diet, like about 2 years ago, and I've done it a couple of times now.
Okay. What'd you discover?
And I think, as much as I hated to admit it, I think probably gluten is a no-no for me, and dairy and soy. Dairy less so, but I do feel, that sort of bloated feeling when I have it. So they're all like not extreme, but they're all quite mild, but definitely getting a reaction to all of them. What I was wondering was, with the new book, with the egg quality diet, Um, obviously you've got an elimination diet in there again, and I'm kind of reluctant at this late stage to start on another elimination diet because I've done it
Yeah.
twice, and I feel like I can kind of slightly skip that bit. I don't know what you
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably like if you've done it before and you kind of know what your triggers are, then I would just avoid your triggers
Yeah.
and then just make sure like my big things is then are we, and it's like how am I nourishing myself? So I want to see that you're getting upwards of like 80 to 90 to 100 grams of protein a day, 6 to 8 servings of vegetables, and
Yeah.
good quality fats. Like that's what I would focus on. I would try to just eat those foods and minimize your alcohol, minimize your caffeine. Like that's the stuff that we know it starts to screw up. Like we get more sensitive to it as we get older, which we see
Yeah.
anyway, right? Like I have a glass or two of wine and like it affects my sleep. Do you know what I mean? In a way that it never did 10 years ago. So it's that same thing. And we know as we get older, that stuff is what's impacting like hormone levels. And so I would just play around with all of that and try to adopt like, okay, this is my lifestyle of choice right now. And it's really because you'll feel your best anyway. And then from that, hormones should balance things. You know what I mean? Like I think you give yourself the best opportunity possible at making this baby from that space. And then I also think you feel empowered because you feel like you're showing up for yourself the way you feel proud of.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, my instinct is that I am going to have another baby. I feel that I am.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't think it's going to be yet. I feel like I've got a year and a bit to go before it's going to happen, because I just feel like that's how life is sort of working
Yeah.
out.
And
And
so I think for you then to think of like, okay, what can I do to best prepare this palace, right? What can I
yeah.
do that just feels, and then I would also, because your cycle's jumping around, like have a shit ton of sex, like on a regular, because you never know. Do you know what I mean? You never know what you're going to catch. And so like to think of it like that too, of just like lots of sex, because you could be ovulating, because
Just
that's it
writing
too.
that
Like
down.
sometimes we're ovulating earlier, you know what I mean? And we're missing that window. And so like, I would go after it with sex, and I would go after it with like just approaching it from that mindset of like how can I best nourish and support myself, like what's the vessel I want to create for this child, and not as much as you can, don't focus on the number of years old you are, but more like and I do this with myself, like every day I try to tune into like how old do I feel, how fit do I feel, and like I'll do this comparison game where I'm like I feel healthier now than I did in my early 30s, that's for sure. So and try to like ride that momentum for yourself mentally too, because and I know the experience personally too, it can weigh us down if we're like too fixated on that number and the approaching years and what the doctors are saying. Find people in your camp that would support you, find those stories of hope of women like you that have done it, you know what I mean, and like that kind of thing. And but I would also think about just um being as diligent as you can with like the diet and the supplements, because there's just less room for error. I think that's the best way to
Yeah.
to think about it in mentally.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, I just think everything happens for a reason. So maybe the fact that it's not been so easy to get pregnant this time, when last time it was too easy to get pregnant,
Yes.
is maybe that is just an opportunity to grow. And
Yeah. Dive into that book, Spirit Babies. If you don't know that book, I think it's called Spirit Babies. Walter McKetchin, I think is his name. It's something with an M. Spirit Babies is the name of it, but it's beautiful. Gives you meditations and mantras and chants to call in your child, look for signs. Like I would do stuff like that too, even like a
yeah.
spirit baby reading. There's some great ones. I love Nancy May, and I love Kelly. Oh my God, what's her name? I have her cards right here. Kelly Meehan. They're both on Instagram. But if you're into that stuff, but the readings are so nice too, because it's a very spiritual thing, but it talks about like, is the connection there? Can you still make it? What to do to call in the child? Kelly Meehan, yeah, thank you. But that stuff too, to open yourself up of like, okay, if you want to come through, guide me. Like, what can I do to best meet you? How can we make this work?
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yes, I
And
would do it. Yeah.
my husband is a wonderful man, but he's a corporate finance lawyer, and he lives life at 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
And I just wonder how much of this I can get him involved with. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful opportunity because he'll do anything right now.
Yeah.
He so wants a
Well, I
baby.
would get him on some supplements. Like I have the info on like optimizing sperm health. I think there's a whole video I have on it. Like I've done on IGTV, and on YouTube. But well, they're both the same video. We just upload them to different areas. I would follow that stuff. But also, you have the Yes You Can Get Pregnant book, so you have access to that resources page where the daddy diet is on there. I would just try to get him on those supplements, get that kind of food in the house, like oysters and liver, like stuff like that, to really just juice things up, bone broth, like, and then and talk to him about it. Like, these are the things I want you to do to optimize sperm, and can you have less 3 a.m. nights than more, that kind of thing. And then even from a spiritual perspective, like a good exercise for you too is like, what is your why? Why do you want to call in this child? Like for the two of you, and this opportunity for your love to manifest in a child. So I would focus on all that stuff and get yourself on like that side of the equation. I actually had this thought today as I was out for a walk, because one of my girls is similar age. I think she's 47, and had been trying with her own eggs. It wasn't happening. Is now currently pregnant with a donor embryo. And it was super kind of easy how it all just fell into place. But I was just thinking about it from like a mental, emotional, spiritual perspective of like, what is the biggest difference between that egg? I know from a scientific perspective, I'm talking mental though, clearly mental and emotional, between adopting that egg and then fertilizing with her sperm and her getting pregnant that way. And what it is, I think, is the belief that this egg wasn't tested, right? It was just from a younger girl. So it's like, we just assume it's normal. So there's this like assumption and this belief that like, that's a better egg than the ones I have, and this will work. And so what if we just did that mental shift all on our own, like from a spiritual, or even like a, I think, maybe not religious, but like a universal, or just like understanding if we're protected and we're guided, like, then isn't it just kind of a mental shift versus just assuming that her eggs are good and my eggs are bad? What if you assume that you still have some good eggs, which I think you do? So it's just like riding that momentum there and seeing that.
Yeah, I feel like it's like the blueberries in the fridge, and you just got to find one good
You just
one,
gotta find
right?
one good one, right? Because some of them are like, nah, I didn't want to eat them, they taste moldy, whatever. Right? It is. I agree. But I would also, I would look into the PRP to see if you can find someone to do it. The ozone therapy seems very promising too. It's like a very powerful antioxidant for aging. So there's ozone sauna, there's ozone IVs. But look and see if anyone, I don't know, in the UK, maybe though, that does ovarian PRP, or if it's worth traveling for you to then see.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Thank you. That's brilliant.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. So any last questions for me, or how are you feeling?
I'm feeling so happy to have talked to you.
Aw.
I mean, what are the chances
I know.
that you would
It
have
was meant
picked
to be.
me?
It's
And
meant to be.
yeah, it did feel meant to be, and it just feels really encouraging to know that it's still possible, because I feel that it is possible. So it's just encouraging to know that.
That's it too. Like, I do think like it gets harder as we get older. No one is denying that or lying about that or saying that. But if I know one or two women, and my doctor friends each know, a handful more, and then my other friends, like, okay, so, and we're a small group, but so there's a lot of women your age that are getting pregnant. So what, and if you have the hope in your heart, like, I think just asking for the ways to connect to that,
I mean, the study you quote in the Yes book, you quote that study from 17th century France, and I just could not believe. I was just like, oh my God. And just the number.
I think the more accurate numbers are about like, in a woman who is ovulating and trying regularly, I do think like mid 40s up, it's probably more like a 50-60% chance that she gets pregnant in a year of trying. That seems to be like what I've collected data wise. I do think the risk of miscarriage goes up a bit too, but not nearly as significantly as they talk. It's probably 30, 40, maybe 50% depending. But I feel like my girls have a lower risk of miscarriage because of all the things that they do. And so, I would just like for you to think about like, okay, I just want to show up and give this the best chance I possibly can. And so, fine tune the diet, fine tune the supplements, fine tune the mental, that kind of thing, and just give it your best.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was so nice chatting with you. Keep us
So
posted, okay? Cheering for you.
will do. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So you just X out and then I'll stay on. Yes. I think that was great. I think that was really hopeful for a lot of you guys and just a good, honest conversation about age and fertility. No one's making any big promises. Shit does decline as we get older, but I do think there's a lot we can do to optimize how we age and to harness that power. And I also do think, I was thinking about this today on my walk, of like, what is that mental block that like, I'm broken, but I'm going to borrow these eggs and they're all good. And so, and not to say that that's not true, like, meaning if one woman who is in her, advanced maternal age is not getting healthy embryos, but then borrows eggs or a few cells, that's really what you're borrowing, a few cells from a donor, and then creates healthy embryos. It's amazing. And it's an amazing opportunity for so many women. But I was thinking about it from this mental perspective of like the relief that you feel when knowing the egg is healthy. And so can we, this is a very Abraham Hicks law of attraction type of attitude, but can we get to that feeling of relief and knowing with our own self and our own eggs and our own health and our own fertility versus thinking it has to come from outside of us? So good food for thought. I'll leave you all with that. If you want to be on my hot seat next time, it'll be in 2 weeks from today. Same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And you just have to, set a reminder. We put reminders up for you guys too, so you can just join to get that reminder and be here. Ask to join live and I will select you. We are getting busier and busier with these. So please know too, I think the sooner you select, the higher up your name is on the list, and then you get picked. But I hope this was a good learning experience. I know a lot of practitioners like to listen to this too. And so, yeah, here to support you guys. If you haven't yet gotten my latest book, The Egg Quality Diet, please check it out. It's on sale anywhere books are sold, and it's still ranking really high in the bestseller lists on fertility and endometriosis and women's health. And it's a 100-day eating plan to help you optimize your egg quality. And then plus you get an amazing web page that goes with the book that has a ton of resources to help navigate your fertility and stuff beyond diet. So I go really deep on the resources page with everything else that you can be doing to optimize your fertility, optimize sperm health, your mental health, your physical health, all the things. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Love you.